Hello, gentlemen. The hardest people to control are the ones who never needed your approval in the first place. When you try to manipulate a Sigma male, you're not just up against someone who plays by different rules. You're dealing with someone who writes their own. These men are enigmas, fiercely independent and impossible to remote control. They thrive in their own solitude, shattering any attempts to dominate them with a swift, unexpected response that leaves manipulators blindsided. What happens when you push against a force that doesn't push back? The result is unsettling. Prepare yourself for 10 surprising reactions that Sigma males unleash when someone dares to pull their strings, reactions that are as elusive as they are brutal. Number 1 on our list: complete emotional shutdown. When someone tries to remote a Sigma male, the first thing they'll notice is an eerie quietness, like the emotional volume just got turned down to 0. It's not an outburst or a confrontation, it's a complete withdrawal of emotions. One minute, the Sigma male might seem engaged, and the next, it's as if they've built an invisible wall around themselves. Their expressions become unreadable, their energy impenetrable. It's not a game, it's a survival tactic. What makes this reaction so unnerving is its finality. There's no going back once they've flipped that switch. The person trying to control them will suddenly find themselves speaking into a void, getting no emotional feedback, no cues to manipulate. The Sigma male has shut off any pathway to vulnerability, making it impossible to push their buttons. And unlike most people who might give in to emotional pressure, the Sigma male is not affected by emotional blackmail, guilt, or manipulation tactics. They retreat, not to lick their wounds, but to preserve their autonomy, and they do it with a chilling precision. What's worse for the manipulator is that they won't even know where they went wrong. The Sigma male doesn't explain, doesn't argue, doesn't show frustration. They just disappear emotionally, leaving behind nothing but silence. That silence is louder than any argument they could have made, because it's a clear message. You no longer have access to me. In that moment, the manipulator realizes they've lost control. Not because they were defeated, but because the Sigma male never let them win in the first place. It's not a retreat, it's a strategic withdrawal, and it's permanent. At number 2, silent exit strategy. When someone tries to manipulate a Sigma male, they might not even realize he's planning his escape until it's far too late. Sigma males don't argue or push back directly. They're not interested in a power struggle. Instead, they quietly begin to remove themselves from the situation. It's subtle at first. Maybe they stop responding as quickly, or their presence becomes less consistent. But by the time the manipulator catches on, they've already slipped through the cracks. This silent exit isn't done out of fear or avoidance, it's deliberate. Sigma males understand that engaging in a direct confrontation only fuels the manipulator's need for control. So they choose the path of least resistance, disappearing without a fight. Their departure feels like a slow fade, almost like they've evaporated from the manipulator's grasp without causing a ripple. They don't give explanations, they don't provide closure, and they don't owe anyone an apology for leaving. What makes this so effective is how calm it all feels. The manipulator is left scrambling, trying to figure out what went wrong. But the truth is, the Sigma male had been planning this for a while. By the time the manipulator is aware of it, the Sigma is already mentally and emotionally checked out. It's not about winning or losing. It's about preserving their peace. Once they've decided that a situation or relationship is no longer worth their time, they walk away quietly, leaving the manipulator to realize they never really had control in the first place. Number 3, intellectual combat. When someone tries to manipulate a Sigma male intellectually, they quickly find themselves in a battle they weren't prepared for. Sigma males don't shy away from mental challenges. In fact, they thrive on them. But instead of engaging in petty arguments or emotional reactions, they approach manipulation attempts with cold, calculated logic. It's like watching someone take apart a machine piece by piece, exposing every flaw in the design. The moment they sense someone trying to pull the strings, they shift into intellectual combat mode. They analyze the situation from every angle, finding the weak points in the manipulator's argument, intentions, and tactics. And they don't attack emotionally. They come at you with facts, reason, and a level of clarity that can feel devastating. Every move you make is met with a counterpoint so sharp and precise that you start questioning your own strategy. They don't yell or get defensive. Instead, they dissect the manipulation, bit by bit, until what you thought was a solid plan crumbles in front of you. This isn't about proving they're smarter or showing off. It's about protecting their autonomy. Sigma males don't let themselves get swept up in emotional games, and they certainly don't let anyone control them through clever tricks. They use their intellect like a shield, deflecting manipulation with such ease that it leaves the manipulator feeling exposed and outmatched. In the end, it's not just that they outsmarted you, it's that they made you realize how flawed your approach was from the very beginning. And they do it all without breaking a sweat. At number 4, emotional empathy that you didn't expect. When someone tries to manipulate a Sigma male emotionally, they might expect resistance, but instead, they're often met with something far more unsettling: empathy. But this isn't the kind of empathy that makes you feel understood or supported. It's the kind that makes you feel exposed, like they can see straight through the act you're putting on. Sigma males have an uncanny ability to sense when emotions are being weaponized against them, and they respond in a way that completely disarms the manipulator. Instead of reacting defensively or getting drawn into an emotional tug-of-war, they acknowledge the emotion being used against them, but not in the way you'd expect. They show a kind of detached empathy, where they let you know they understand exactly what you're doing, and more importantly, why. They don't get angry, they don't fight back. They simply hold up a mirror to the situation. It's as if they're telling the manipulator, "I see your game, and it doesn't affect me." This response leaves the manipulator feeling uneasy, because they're not met with the emotional reaction they were counting on. Instead, they get a calm, almost compassionate understanding that makes their attempts feel small and transparent. The Sigma male's empathy isn't a sign of weakness. It's a subtle psychological move that shows they're above the manipulation. They don't let their emotions be controlled by others, and by demonstrating this level of control, they leave the manipulator feeling powerless and often embarrassed. What makes this response so powerful is that it's completely unexpected. Most people either fight back or cave in when their emotions are manipulated. But a Sigma male's quiet empathy exposes the shallow nature of the manipulation, leaving the other person feeling like they've lost before the game even started. Number 5, defiant freedom surge. When someone tries to box in a Sigma male, trying to control their actions or limit their freedom, they trigger something deep inside that can't be contained. Sigma males have a fierce sense of independence, and the moment they feel someone trying to manipulate them, a surge of defiance takes over. It's not loud or confrontational, but it's unmistakable. They'll start making decisions that break the very rules the manipulator is trying to enforce. This isn't done out of spite, but as a statement. No one owns them. What makes this response so powerful is how calculated it is. They don't rebel recklessly. Every move is intentional. They'll do the exact opposite of what's expected, not to prove a point, but to reassert their own autonomy. It's like a reflex. They refuse to be caged in by anyone's expectations or attempts to control them. The more someone tries to tighten the grip, the more they'll slip through, choosing their own path regardless of the consequences. This surge of freedom is often baffling to the manipulator. They'll find themselves scrambling to regain control, but it's already too late. Sigma males thrive on their ability to move through life on their own terms, and any attempt to limit that is met with a quiet but firm resistance. The harder you try to hold on to them, the more they will distance themselves, carving out space for their independence. What's most striking about this is how effortless it seems. While the manipulator might be struggling to maintain control, the Sigma male is calmly asserting their freedom without losing a step. It's not about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's about maintaining their core principle, never letting anyone dictate their life. Number 6, mirror reflection technique. When someone tries to manipulate a Sigma male, they often find themselves caught in a psychological trap they never saw coming. The mirror reflection technique. Instead of fighting back or outright rejecting the manipulation, the Sigma male turns the manipulator's own tactics against them. They mirror the manipulator's behavior so subtly and effectively that the manipulator doesn't even realize what's happening at first. It's not just mimicry, it's a deliberate strategy. The Sigma male lets the manipulator see exactly what they're doing, but reflected back at them, exposing the manipulation for what it is. This creates an uncomfortable situation for the person trying to control them. All of a sudden, the manipulator starts to feel the pressure they were trying to apply. They experience the same tactics they thought would work on the Sigma, but now it feels like they're the ones being manipulated. The brilliance of this technique is in its subtlety. The Sigma male doesn't call out the manipulation directly, they don't have to. By reflecting the behavior, they force the manipulator to confront their own actions. It's disorienting, because the manipulator starts to realize that they're not in control like they thought they were. Instead of bending the Sigma to their will, they end up tangled in their own web. The mirror reflection technique leaves manipulators questioning themselves. It's as if the Sigma male holds up a magnifying glass, forcing the manipulator to see the cracks in their own approach. In the end, the manipulator is left exposed, their tactics ineffective, and they walk away unsure of what just happened. Meanwhile, the Sigma male remains untouched, having turned the entire game back onto the person who started it. Number 7. Rapid mental detachment. When someone tries to manipulate a Sigma male, one of the most striking things they'll experience is how quickly the Sigma can mentally detach. It's not just a casual shift in focus, it's an almost immediate separation from the entire situation. One moment they might be engaged, the next, they've disconnected entirely. It's like flipping a switch. They aren't ignoring you. They've just decided that you and the manipulation attempt no longer matter. This detachment is so rapid and complete that it can leave the manipulator feeling confused and powerless. The Sigma male won't argue. They won't fight back emotionally. They simply check out. In that moment, the manipulator's control evaporates because they've lost the one thing they need to maintain it, the Sigma's attention. When a Sigma decides that something isn't worth their time, they detach from it on every level, mentally, emotionally, even physically if necessary. What makes this reaction so unsettling is that it feels permanent. Once they've detached, it's nearly impossible to pull them back in. They don't come crawling back or try to negotiate. They've already moved on in their mind. And when a Sigma male moves on, there's no going back. The manipulator is left grasping at air, realizing that their attempts to control the situation have completely backfired. This rapid mental detachment is a form of self-preservation for the Sigma. It's how they maintain their autonomy and ensure that they don't get tangled up in toxic dynamics. By choosing to disengage on their own terms, they strip the manipulator of any power they thought they had. The Sigma male's mind becomes an impenetrable fortress, leaving the other person outside, wondering how they lost control so quickly. Number 8. Inevitable isolation tactic. When a manipulator pushes a Sigma male too far, they resort to an inevitable isolation tactic that catches the manipulator completely off guard. Instead of escalating the situation or trying to win, the Sigma simply removes themselves, physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's not about running away, it's about reclaiming their space. They withdraw into isolation, cutting off the manipulator's access entirely. This withdrawal isn't temporary or a bluff to guilt the manipulator, it's a deliberate and calculated move. The Sigma male understands the value of solitude, and when someone tries to control them, they'll retreat to protect their independence. It's a power move, done without fanfare. The manipulator is left grasping at straws, realizing they no longer have any influence. The Sigma male has essentially shut down the entire dynamic by stepping away, leaving the manipulator powerless. What makes this tactic so effective is its finality. The Sigma male doesn't explain, justify, or give the manipulator a chance to pull them back in. They've made their decision, and in their isolation, they find peace and clarity. To the manipulator, this isolation feels like being locked out of a room they were never invited into in the first place. They no longer have any access to the Sigma's thoughts, emotions, or presence. The isolation isn't a punishment, it's a reset. By withdrawing, the Sigma male reclaims control over their own life, while leaving the manipulator to face the consequences of their actions. The manipulator realizes too late that they've lost the game, not because they were defeated, but because the Sigma male decided it was a game they were never going to play in the first place. Number 9. Mysterious dissolution of control. When someone tries to remote a Sigma male, they might be in for a shock when they experience the mysterious dissolution of control. Rather than a dramatic confrontation or overt rejection, the Sigma male exhibits a subtle but profound shift. It's as if, the moment they sense an attempt at manipulation, the very control the manipulator thought they had starts to dissolve like mist in the morning sun. This phenomenon occurs with an unsettling ease. The Sigma male doesn't need to make grand gestures or statements. Instead, they simply let go of the strings the manipulator was pulling. The manipulator might still think they're in charge, but the reality is that their influence has vanished without a trace. The Sigma male's calm detachment and strategic disengagement make it seem as though the control was never really there to begin with. What's striking is how imperceptibly this shift happens. To the manipulator, it feels as though their control is slipping away, but they can't pinpoint exactly when or how it occurred. One moment they're pulling the strings, and the next they're left with nothing but an empty grasp. The Sigma male has subtly shifted the dynamics, rendering any attempts at control meaningless. This mysterious dissolution of control leaves the manipulator in a state of confusion. They're left to question their own strategies and realize that their efforts were futile from the start. The Sigma male's ability to let go of the situation without fuss or fanfare is what makes this tactic so effective. It's not about confrontation. It's about quietly and efficiently dismantling the illusion of control, leaving the manipulator to confront the reality of their own ineffectiveness. Number 10. Unapologetic rejection. When someone tries to manipulate a Sigma male, they often encounter an unapologetic rejection that's both disarming and final. Unlike other people who might try to soften the blow or engage in a drawn-out confrontation, the Sigma male delivers rejection with a straightforward clarity that leaves no room for doubt. There's no hesitation, no guilt, just a clear and unambiguous dismissal of any attempts to control them. This form of rejection is striking because it's delivered without a hint of remorse or emotional involvement. The Sigma male doesn't feel the need to justify their stance or explain why they're rejecting the manipulation. It's not done out of anger or frustration, but out of a firm belief in their own boundaries. They simply make it clear that they will not be swayed or influenced, and they stick to it with unwavering resolve. What makes this rejection so powerful is its directness. There's no room for negotiation or second chances. The manipulator is met with a blunt reality. Their tactics have failed, and they're not welcome in the Sigma male's sphere. It's a clean break, leaving the manipulator to deal with the consequences of their actions. The Sigma male's lack of apology or regret further emphasizes their commitment to maintaining their own integrity and independence. In essence, the unapologetic rejection is a declaration of self-respect and autonomy. The Sigma male shows that they cannot and will not be manipulated, and they do so with a clarity that is impossible to ignore. The manipulator is left to face the stark truth. Their attempts to control were always doomed to fail, and the Sigma male's response leaves them with nothing but the bitter realization of their own futility. If you enjoyed these insights into Sigma males, make sure to subscribe for more captivating content. Hit that button and stay tuned for more unique perspectives and expert analysis. Join us and never miss out.